an associate professor in Queen Mary University in London, and he is also collaborating with Yahoo Research here in Barcelona. And he's going to be talking about something that Mar has mentioned in his talk on the influence that reviews have on the entire sort of like cuisine and food industry. He's going to share with us his research on reviews, online reviews, and the sort of like 2.0 revolution on in the context of restaurant reviews.
Yeah. Was there 2.0?
Yeah.
So, yes. So this work is, well, to mention Ricardo Baeza-Yates, who's just in Italy, while I'm here, who is the director of Yahoo Research here in Barcelona. So as an outline, a bit of a detailed breakdown. So basically, the big two keywords will be ranking and reviews. If you look at this little program here, then it says rating. I'm 100% I wrote ranking. So it was interesting. So ranking and rating was basically exchanged here. But as you will see, rating is one form of evidence for ranking. Okay, and well, 2.0, you know, the Web 2.0 stuff. We're looking at reviews, I think, from 2 points of view. What the computer can do with it, and what the business thinks, you know, or well, why they invest millions into collecting reviews. Couple of challenges. We're looking at 4 review-based services. Well, my laptop didn't connect, so I have here a backup, so it's going to be a PDF screenshot things. And I just checked with Nuria, so what's your first one? Okay, she mentioned, yeah, what's your second one? TripAdvisor, so I was glad, yeah. And actually, this selection comes up from a student, Marco Bonzanini, who I would like to acknowledge, who did screenshots and collecting data. Then we're looking at local.yahoo.com and at local hero here, bcnrestaurants.com. Well, just came up because I'm new to Barcelona and I thought it's a nice service. Then we're looking at technology. So this, I'm not a cook. So I'm a hard computer science. I don't know who said this morning. So the hard computer science. But I also make a point that, well, computer scientists also carry a certain responsibility. It's not hard, right? So I try also to be a responsible computer scientist. And we're looking at 2 aspects of technology. One is microformats. We heard a lot about recipes. Since 2006, 2007, discussion was about microformats and to put recipes into a kind of agreed format for computers to understand them. And there's also microformats for reviews and other things. And descriptive languages are means for computer scientists to solve complex tasks relatively quickly. I will show what that is. OK, let me come to some conclusion. So, talking about ranking. Well, you probably know 1.0 or 2.0. Did 2.0 happen? Yeah, in a way, yes. You know, the web has changed. But I think one of the main things is to pinpoint 1.0 versus 2.0 is to say 1.0 was about ranking pages and 2.0 is about ranking objects. So we really move forward from ranking a page about things, looking into the page, what are the objects occurring there, let them be businesses, people, companies. So notion of semantic web. Or in some communities, you don't say semantic web just because it's not. So then you say web of objects or web of things. But what it means is really moving from pages to objects. And moving from word statistics and PageRank. You might have heard of PageRank. That was apparently the revolution for Google, reputation of pages. So moving from PageRank towards knowledge-oriented, object-oriented representation of objects. And, well, call it reputation, whatever it is. So there's something more than just content. You know, there's something going on like referencing. So with respect to ranking, what review-based sites do, it's no secret, they all try to do that. They rank with 3 main criteria. So you type in a query, say sushi restaurants, well, they figure out where are you, show you the kind of close ones. We show you the ones that are somehow popular or have a good reputation. Is that the same, popular, good reputation? Well, they try to measure it somehow. Rating, of course, is an evidence to measure reputation. Rating of certain reviewers might be weighted higher than rating of other reviewers. And actually, they look at how often a restaurant name was entered as a query somewhere. And that gives a little point for the restaurant, because people asked for the name, so let's add that to reputation as well. So you see here, reputation is again a multidimensional thing. And you come up with a reputation score, come up with a distance, and also with topical relevance. So if somebody types in Japanese restaurants, do you show a sushi restaurant? Well, probably you won't. Yeah. So distance, reputation, topical, and all of these are, again, multi-dimensional things, and you need to mix it somehow to come up with a good ranking. From ranking to reviews. So these are all real reviews. So the best sushi place in town, well, I'm pointing you here at two words, at the word not and at the word good. A very simple sentiment analysis would exploit the word good and bad and will try to deal with negation. So there's no bad on this, all right? There's only good. And we ignore best and something, so we're only looking for not and good. So the best sushi place in town, well, we could still replace best by good, just as a synonym, and say that's positive. They have good espresso. Not a word. If you put it in the spell checker, we'll be upset. But this is, of course, expressing emotion, right? And positive emotion, and giving it more sentiment. By putting a lot of O's in, or using uppercase, there's emotion going on. Usually in information retrieval, we put everything lowercase, strip everything with a stemming algorithm, and don't look at these things at all. Here now, exclamation marks, long words, misspelled words, they might tell us a lot. This is not the best sushi we ever had, but it is good and affordable. There's not the best in, so that's negative. But there's also positive evidence, so we kind of have to weigh that against each other. The place is one of it, not the greatest barbecue in town, clearly 100% positive sentence, but with a not in. Not a big fan of Thai, but this place made me one. Yeah? Not a fan. Computer will think, ooh, negative, but we know better. So on the other side is a bit like more the negative stuff. This food was not good. OK, we know it's negative. I did not recommend this restaurant. Is it really negative? Oh, we found things like, do not have your wedding here, in uppercase letter. Is that an indication for this restaurant is not romantic? Still a good price for food. So the challenge here is now for computer really to, crawl the reviews and understand. So we see what the computer, where's the computer? Well, the computer can basically detect words. So what the business thinks about reviews, okay, well, I tried spin out. So the first question I asked, what's your business proposition? So those review guys out there, they must tell the investor, where's the value? So if you say, oh, I'm helping people to find good value food, they will say, oh, wait, where's the value? But if you say, well, we're creating a high-value business proposition, business pressure, business imperative for restaurants, they might say, oh, yeah. Is it unique? Is it destructive? I think we had the word destroy. Can it destroy? Unfortunately, the world is such, the investor world, that people ask, is it a destructive technology? Then we can invest. You're not in market. And customers, who will use it? I think Mark will point, who will pay? Right? Well, at the moment, it looks like they target the restaurants, and yeah, you're at the same point. An Italian told me, in Italy, anyway, nobody would look up a web service. People tell people, and I think here in Spain it's the same. In England, well, good food and IT dinner together, maybe a new Jamie Oliver effect. Jamie Oliver, big cook, had a massive impact with his work on food in England. OK, so main challenges, trust. Can we trust a review? Are the reviews genuine, unchanged? Well, often they're not unchanged, because maybe there are certain words, F words or something, which end up in reviews, and the review-based site will definitely take them out because it will damage their reputation. So, well, they are review genuine to a certain degree, but review sites should take responsibility. Take spam out, take unfair reviews out, be fair with the ranking. What's the reputation? Reputation based on how many people search for a review. Well, how is that controlled by spamming? If a restaurant owner sits all the evening there and types in his or her restaurant name. So how do restaurants incentivize people to give certain reviews? How is that maybe detected? And on the information management side, the challenges are how to summarize a review, how to summarize the opinion from several reviews. And also, can we use reviews in a reliable way to infer categories quality, because the millions of businesses out there, often there's missing information. So now one idea is to take the reviews and to fill up the missing fields. We're looking quickly at four sites. Yelp, TripAdvisor, popular all over the place. Yahoo Local, very, very popular in the US. And BCN Restaurants, BCN for Barcelona. It's, I believe, popular here. We're looking at a couple of criteria. I'll just give you a bit of an impression what these tools do, and we look with a certain eye on it. How do they rank? Do we understand how they rank? Do they rank reviews, or what do they do with reviews? You know, how do they display them? How do they summarize them? What is the price? You know, how is the price present? Maybe a couple of things on how they deal with different languages, if at all. So a popular site here, Yelp. So if you enter, so what came? Oh, I don't have a pointy kind of stick. Maybe you can see here. They directly make a bit of a threatening point here, you know, to find and talk about great and not so great local businesses. And well, of course, they use nice pictures to advertise certain things. So if you end up here and then try to, oops, okay, I'm in San Francisco, what comes next? They offer you various dimensions how to, you know, boil down your query. So the first is in many services is neighborhood. So location, you know, what's close to me with respect to geographical distance is one of the main things. The second one, they call this here categories. Other services will call it cuisine, you know, type. So here they call it category. A category is actually not such a specific term. And then they move on and say, well, the other thing they call features. So features for them is things like whether things are cheap or fine or delivery. And then you see down here what they call then more features. So more features, they say something like from cheap to moderate pricey to splurge. I think my English is right, but I had to look up splurge. So splurge is something like very expensive. And of course, they use dollars all over the place. They even use dollars as a kind of symbolic thing here in Spain. And they say other things here, good for groups, good for kids. Okay, so the three dimensions here are location, cuisine type, and, well, features, well, kind of maybe an ambience type thing, you know, fine. So when they show then a particular business here, pizzeria, the big thing is, of course, directly in front, directly, usually very, very close to the name, and that shows you the importance of reviews. Without review, no sale, basically. There are 286 reviews, and there's somehow the indication that that's probably averaged 4.5. And let's go to the rating details. So what do they do now with respect to summarizing reviews and giving people, you know, quick, you know, a more detailed view than just the average of the rating? So one popular technique here is so-called highlighting. You see here, for example, they do great low-key spot for mouth-watering thin crust. So thin crust is bold because thin crust is a phrase, two words, two-word phrases. Usually they use 2 grams or 3 grams, 2 or 3. A phrase which occurs in lots of reviews, okay? And over maybe all of your review set is not such a frequent phrase. So you get this notion in information retrieval. It should be frequent within a certain context, but it should be not frequent overall so that it is discriminative, okay? So this is kind of review highlighting a technique. And then they pick, with whatever mechanism, they're all good at probabilities, of course, as well. They pick a sentence that contains the phrase. Here, of course, you have some possibilities of picking the sentence of that restaurant that, you know, has been supportive to the review-based web service. In order then, if user clicks on that review, basically gets a navigation point to that restaurant. What they also show here in terms of summary, you know, they basically show a bit of a trend of the ratings, and we go further. Okay, good. So these things, location, cuisine, ambience, and things, we find in every site, and the attempt to summarize somehow things. So TripAdvisor goes here in, and we find again the dollars. That's probably kind of a copy thing. So if you go in, you find here directly on top, and I found the quite interesting, reviews you can trust. In fact, I tried to follow, you know, since when they make this particular point, reviews you can trust. And we look at it in a couple of minutes. And then they do here directly something like number 39 of 5,575 restaurants in London. So they basically play very much like with an overall ranking criteria. Okay, and they have here very evident directly to the price. Again, the same stuff, cuisine and things. Just another way of displaying things, bringing it in strong context, of course, with the navigation tool. Here, the reviews you can trust, they bring things like food, service, value, atmosphere, and they basically, you know, break down the rating in a more fine-grained way. So you see slightly different ways of summarizing things. So what does Yahoo Local? Yahoo Local in the US, if you say Santa Clara sushi restaurants, they give you 3 that have paid. They get the advertisement box. So it's kind of an open advertisement model. And then you find down there the list of restaurants, Tuya Sushi, Kobe Sushi, and so far. So with a restaurant associated, there's two things. One is what is called the latest review. You see that on the left side. It's kind of the most recent review. And below is a review that contains the query words. Okay, so that's what they do. If you look at a particular restaurant, then you get here something like the price range. Well, 0 to 10, I'm sure there's nothing for 0 or 1. But what they try to do is not to give a kind of one price. You know, they try to give a price range, and they try also now to, well, differentiate the price range, for different prices. Okay. What they also have here, what you see here, 11 reviews and so-called web reviews. So web reviews, coming back to copyright issue and things, are reviews which come from somewhere. But if you have the allowance to crawl reviews, you can crawl reviews and show basically reviews, that also come from other sites, and you can also, of course, relate them. BCN restaurants, local here, Barcelona, has a strong emphasis on pictures, as we have been heard here, but here, on ambience pictures. There's a lot of ambience pictures on BCN restaurants, and as I found a quite interesting navigation. Okay, now looking at the different sites, we have here 4. We always talk about ranking. How do they do with reviews? What do they do about summarization? And what do they do about price? And we try to come up a bit with, things they do. Of course, reviews are there's always a date criteria, but underlined here, there's a notion of useful. So I think it was on TripAdvisor, you can basically say whether this review was useful, not like I like, dislike, was it useful for making a decision to build kind of a web-based reputation for reviews. So far for reviews about restaurants. So how about reviews on or about review-based web services? So what do people think of those services? Well, I hope you can't see the details here because you're not supposed to, but that's why I was glad. Anyway, you can type in any query. You have to redo this yourself because I'm not distributing any type of, too controversial news. But as you can imagine, if you start looking on the web and type in for, problems or scam or whatever are the famous words there, you find numerous concerns about people, of people, about how sites operate, what's their business model, what is exactly happening. Here I just show one blog where a blog is talking about review-based web services and saying, I find those things too aggressive. I actually check your blog. Once I found a restaurant, I actually check your blog whether you have an opinion because I trust your blog. I still use review-based web service for checking whether something exists or as a reference, but opinions and so forth, ... So there's partly very aggressive statements about or about the impact or what people fear could be the potential impact. But I think, there was a nice talk by Johanna this morning saying, well, maybe turn it a bit around and we see how society deals with it and makes it positive in the end. Okay, moving on to technology. In order to deal with the challenges, well, one challenge is to have review-based web service and to guide users to restaurants. Also, one challenge is to do it in a fair way, maybe to have some compliance or regulation things at one place, that a restaurant can actually ask, what have you got about me, and gets an answer. Maybe web services have to provide such an interface, such an API, in order to run their business because they're using data. So we have Web 2.0. We have technology for semantic so-called retrieval. That's tagging, microformats. I will have one slide to give you an idea what that is. We have descriptive languages in the semantic web. And skip the next slide on this. So companies use a lot of bucket testing nowadays. What you see is maybe not what I see. They observe how users behave. They do Amazon Turk testing. They have internal test beds in order to test features before they put them live. Okay, so H recipe, always with an H in front, H review, HV card, H something, is something also Google is pushing very much, is kind of a tagging language. And standards are kind of bubbling up that you have something like span class quantity, span class number, and then you put the 500 in, and then you say span and span class unit and things. So that's called at the moment H recipe, and there's various syntactic formats. So that's basically what the computer sees. And the computer will go like, hey, I understand what 500 is without even doing any complicated stuff because somebody did already the work, tagged it, marked it up, and computer will just read the little things and then knows that 500 is a unit and that potatoes is an item or an ingredient, okay? And this type of semantic tagging, of course, makes for the wider society it much easier to process recipes, reviews, whatever you have, in an easier way. So make the computer-based processing understanding of text easier. H-review is a similar, it's actually here, the current proposal for H-review is about, of course you have a review, you have a date, but there's actually not much in at the moment for how to mark up opinions. Okay, so that would be a further extension, how to mark up opinions and make it easy to take opinions. Descriptive languages, around since the beginning of computer science, and always with a couple of issues, and now in the context of reviews or opinion mining, with new challenges. So I give you on top the traditional SQL example, and also show you a challenge. So this would be a database query for give me the registration and price of a car, of the cars for sale, age less than 2 years, price between 5,000 to 10,000, and brand, of course, BMW. So we missed the best car, because the best car, that was just 1 year old, but it costed 10,050. Well, we would have put those 50 pounds. Okay, so this is conjunction is too sharp, empty answer set problem, disjunction too soft, many answer problem. And there's a lot of things, and this is actually one of the reasons why this type of traditional technology in information retrieval always causes friction, and there's a lot of people working on it, making it better. If we move forward to having powerful technology to deal with reviews, ranking, sentiment analysis, and in a way, and that's now fiction, we want a language where we can say reviews are positive and ranked by distance, reputation, popularity. People are working on those languages, that people have access to those languages in an easier way, and get a kind of semi-structured result back. Good, very concrete. Yep, very concrete. 5 minutes, not millions. If you have millions of businesses out there, then usually the data crawling and all the data feeds and things generate lots of inconsistency. If you have 10 to 20% consistent data, you are very happy. Out there, you have web pages out there about businesses. Look at them and see whether they confirm what you've got or whether they fill up missing fields. So here, a restaurant is romantic, for example, if, well, the word romantic occurs frequently in the reviews. That might be an indicator. And here you see that we basically translate that directly in a descriptive language. Restaurant ambience is romantic if the restaurant has a review and the word romantic occurs in the review. We learn from crawled data that the word margarita occurs a lot in reviews for romantic restaurants. So let's say then if the word margarita occurs in reviews, that's also an indicator that the restaurant is romantic. We can learn whether a reviewer is a romantic person. Well, we can look up homepages of the reviewer. We can do certain things with the reviewer. So if the reviewer is a romantic person and reviewed positively that restaurant, well, who knows? Okay, and so forth. But I think the main point is here that people come up with a lot of ideas to put strategic rules forward, and then descriptive technology allows to implement it and test it very quickly. So in summary, well, before food met IT, I think it was food met IT or IT met food. I don't know which way it was found. Well, let's say before food met IT, the world was like, have a good recipe, produce good food, have a friendly neighborhood. And, well, there were restaurant guides. So that was the world. And then you hopefully got people coming. Now, food meets IT. Computers start to understand reviews and recipes. So restaurants kind of become review aware. I think there was this morning this nice question, do small restaurants have to do something about it? Is it only for the biggies? But definitely they become aware. They feel sometimes not so comfortable about what's going on there because it's out of their control. How many good reviews, do I need? What will the review-based web service ask me, on the next occasion when a letter comes in? And what will restaurants do to see reviews displayed in the right way? So, well, projecting a bit forward, after food met IT, maybe we have something like on the web, certain compliance rules, what is allowed, what is disallowed, what have review-based web services offer to businesses in order for businesses to check, what's out there for me, how can I potentially improve? So we try to provide good technology, well, for the web, for the review-based web service, but also for businesses, to check the truth. Well, the good news, I thought, is computers can't cook yet. But that conclusion, I think, was done before I saw the talks before. So I would say, I'm not so sure, when we have the first computer actually cooking something and people are happy to just test it and see how it goes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Do you have any questions for Thomas before breaking for lunch? There's a question here. Hold on. Do you mind repeating the question with the microphone, please?
Yes. In your opinion, what's more important when we're thinking about business for restaurants in order using the reviews or calling to the customers to put his opinion? What is more important for you than the restaurant give deals to the customers in order to produce their check-ins, or put real and good information for future customers that can be used for and motivate in order to go there, you know?
So I don't understand exactly the
Sorry.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there is two ways. One way is when the restaurant put, hey, people go there because if you come here, you have a free coffee, for example.
Right.
And in the other side, taking in account the opinions from the rest of the people that go there or not. Then what is the balance more correct? Use the two ways or just only one or two, or is a strategic that can be mixed both?
Well, if I understand well, one way would be that review-based services are mainly encouraging people. You have a free coffee here, so restaurants use it as an advertisement platform. Mm. Well, I think that's okay. You know, it's an advertisement platform. If it's not very expensive, you know, that's I think the world is. And the other side, you know, that there are reviews who kind of guide people because of the quality they are reported by other people. I think, honestly, it's kind of fine as well. So I think this mix of, you know, giving a bit of an incentive and having customers coming because somebody wrote a good review, I think that's fine.
And you think that the decision of the people is most thinking about the decision of the people is most important for the people when see the offers or when see the opinion from other people?
Well, I don't have hard evidence data to do that, but well, of course, if you incentivize, well, the price speaks. You know, people will come. So if you use it as an advertisement platform, you know, I'm sure you know certain restaurants will observe filling up tables, you know, better than before. But I think, as I pointed out, as a technologist, it's also important, you know, to see that maybe certain restaurants are not able also to follow up all this technology. Imagine for a restaurant what it means to follow this up and to check on the internet what's about me and to figure out what happened. You know, to actually provide, you know, a certain level of protection or a certain level of, you know, whatever interface for businesses, maybe to review-based services, to have the right, you know, to check what's on me there. And you know, people used to come, they don't come anymore, and I'm looking for an explanation. And I think that should be only fair, actually, that they have this opportunity to do that. I didn't expand the talk so much because there is out there in the internet, you know, lots of discussions how reviews are massaged or displayed or not displayed, depending on how generous the restaurant is with placing advertisements and things. And you know, I think there has to be a certain monitor in place that we can be sure that that's fair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other question? Yes.
In the future, I mean, will it be 3.0 or, I mean,
well,
what's the future?
What's the future? I think, you know, this 2.0, I think we are now at 5.0. That depends on in which community you are. You know, the biggest, well, Google giant has, the web is just progressing slowly. Can you really mark generations? And I think what you can mark, of course, that there was before a page passive kind of web. And now the web gets more and more active, right, interactive, and say object-oriented. And that's clearly a shift. Now you would say, some people will say, oh, when every page comes in a micro format and the computer can read that easily, maybe you call that Web 2.5 or Web 3 point something. So, you know, the things are, of course, moving on. And I think if a next generation, you know, comes, and then clearly maybe mobile and bio, you know, they're connecting people with all types of wires in order to find out how you feel when you see certain pages and things. I think when that kind of connection going on, that type of feedback comes into the computer systems. You saw this page, you really felt hungry, you know, and you allow yourself to be wired and that measured. Maybe that's the next.
But anyway, having what customer says and what they feel about food in the restaurants. I mean, this is the future.
Yeah, you mean
the
that
customer is the most important
yes,
thing.
Of course. Yes, of course. And you know, you might be not surprised eventually to see in restaurants like with a food spotting, maybe the offer, if you allow us to wire yourself while you eat, you know, then 10% off. You know.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, let's thank you, Thomas, again, and also all the speakers from this session.